to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob. But now the narrative moves on to a new person, and that's Joseph. Midge, stand up.
Oh.
She wore the coat I needed her to wear, and she didn't even know that I needed her to wear it. It's her coat of many colors. And most of you know this story very well, but we're going to see some things in the story that we may not have noticed before in this coat of many colors. This is about a family, a dysfunctional family. This family's been dysfunctional for a while, going all the way back to his problems with his uncles, the worries with his brothers, the things within his own family with his sons. And we're going to see this work. And here's the thing. Family dynamics are always difficult. It's never easy. We're going to be in Genesis 37. We may get through most of the chapter. Now Jacob dwelled in the land where his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. This is the history of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brothers, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah, the sons of Zipporah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought a bad report to his father. Nobody likes to be ratted out, do we? Here's this young guy, and he feels obligated to tell him, hey, Dad, you ain't going to believe what they're doing out there. You know, when they're supposed to be tending the sheep and the goats and taking them here to here, yeah, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. That makes brothers and sisters kind of upset with you. Now, Israel loved Joseph more than all of his other children. Do you think that the other ones didn't notice that? You know, when you're always showing him favoritism and doing things for him and giving him things that you're not giving the other kids, yeah, that causes animosity. Because he was the son of his old age. Also, he made him a tunic of many colors. But when his brothers saw that his father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not speak peacefully to him. Now Joseph had a dream, and he told this dream to his brothers, and they hated him even more. So he said to them, please hear this dream which I have had. We were binding sheaves in the field. If you don't know what that is, it's when you gather the wheat, you cut them off at the base, you'd take a couple strands of wheat, and you would wrap them around the wheat and tie it off, and it'd make a little bundle. That's called a sheaf. And behold, my sheaf arose and stood upright, and indeed your sheaf stood around and bowed down to my sheaf. Yeah, that's going to really set him off. And his brother said to him, shall you indeed reign over us? Or shall you indeed have dominion over us? So they hated him even more for his dreams and for his words. Okay? Couple dreams here. There's the dream of the sheaves, but now he's not going to be done with his dreaming. Then he dreamed still another dream and told it to his brothers and said, look, I've dreamed another dream. And this time the sun and the moon and the 11, how many brothers were there? 11. He was 12. And the 11 stars bowed down to me. So he told it to his father and his brothers. And his father rebuked him and said, what is this dream you have dreamed? Now Dad's got involved here. Okay? Shall your mother and I and your brothers indeed come bow down to the earth before you? And his brothers envied him, but his fathers kept the matter in mind. Joseph sold, this is the title to the next part. Joseph is sold by his brothers. Then his brothers went to feed his father's flock in Shechem. His father said, take these sheep and go to Shechem and go out in the fields and feed them. And Israel said to Joseph, "Are not your brothers feeding the flock in Shechem? Come, I will send you." So he said to him, "Here am I." And he said to him, "Please go and see if it is well with your brothers and well with the flocks, and bring me word back." Okay, well, last time he did this, he gave a bad report. So I imagine when brothers see him, they ain't going to be real happy, are they? So he sent him out to the valley of Hebron, and he went to Shechem, and a certain man found him, and there he was wandering in the field, and the man asked, saying, "What are you seeking?" Go to my map here. Okay. Here's where they're supposed to be feeding sheep. Up here in Dothan, which is not a nice place, by the way. There's a lot going on there, that entice young men. And that's where they're not supposed to be. And he said, "I am seeking my brothers. Please tell me where they are feeding the flocks." And the man said, "They have departed from here, for I heard them say, 'Let us go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them in Dothan. Now, when they saw him afar off, even before he came near them, they conspired against to kill him. Okay? We've heard this theme over and over in this family here, going all the way back. Somebody gets mad at somebody and plans on killing them. Okay? Then they said to one another, "Look, this dreamer comes. Come therefore, let us now kill him and cast him to some pit, and we shall say that some wild beast has devoured him. We shall see what will become of his dreams." Here steps in the older brother. But Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands and said, "Let us not kill him." And Reuben said to them, "Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit which is in the wilderness, and do not lay hands on him. He wants to save his younger brother." At least there's one good one in the group, right? "That he might deliver him out of their hands, and bring him back to his father." So it came to pass that when Joseph had come to his brothers, they stripped him of his tunic, of his coat of many colors, the tunic of many colors that was on him, and then they cast him into the pit. They took him and cast him in the pit, and the pit was empty. Well, at least it wasn't full of water and mud, right? And there was no water in it. And they sat down and they ate a meal. Can you imagine that? You threw him in a pit, now you just go sit around and have a meal around him? Then they lifted up their eyes and looked, and there was a company of Ishmaelites. Now remember, going back, who are the Ishmaelites, right? That's the other son of Abraham. And they became a nation in themselves. We call them the Arabians, okay? When they look back to their ancestry, going all the way back to Abraham also. Coming from Galilee, with their camels bearing spices, balm, and myrrh, on their way to carry them down to Egypt. That's how part of the trade route they're on. So Judah and his brothers. So Judah said to his brothers, "What profit is there if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hands be upon him, for he is our brother in our flesh." Well, at least God got in there and put a little bit of sympathy in there, not to kill the kid. And the Midianites traders passed by, so the brothers pulled Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver, and they took Joseph to Egypt. Okay? Sometimes bad things happen that turn into good. Since we all know this story pretty well, you know where it's going. But it's looking pretty grim for this kid right now. Here his brothers are. His father's sitting to check on them again. And they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing again. And now he's going to have to take a report back to his father again. And it ain't going to go well. So their plan was to kill him. Older brother talks him out of it. They cast him in a pit and end up selling him for money. Now they got some money in their pockets, right? Now they're in Dothan with money in their pocket. I don't see this going good, okay? So they've sold him off, and off the Ishmaelites go, carrying Joseph into Egypt. Then Reuben returned to the pit, going to go get his brother and take him back to his dad. And indeed, Joseph was not in the pit. And he tore his clothes. Folks, that goes all the way back. When you were in great distress back in those days, you would tear your clothes, okay? You would put sackcloth around your waist. You would put ashes on top of your head, and that was a sign of mourning. What was in his mind? He is thinking that his brothers have killed this boy. He returned and said to his brothers, "The lad is no more. Where shall I go?" You know why? He's the older brother. Okay? Dad's already charged him to take care of this kid. And the kid's gone. He knows he can't go back to his father and not be able to tell him what happened to the kid. So they took Joseph's tunic and they killed the kid of the goats, and they dipped the tunic into the blood. Then they sent the tunic with many colors, and they brought it to their father and said, "We have found this. Do you know whether it is your son's tunic?" He knows what it looks like. There's no doubt in any of these brothers that the father's going to identify this. What they didn't expect is the impact that it was going to have. Do you know if it's your son's or not? And he recognized it and said, "This is my son's tunic. A wild beast has devoured him." Without doubt, Joseph is torn into pieces. Then Jacob tore his clothes, put sackcloth on his waist, and he mourned his son for many days. Now here's a special part. Okay, dad's important. Everything around that and all the things that they get and all the money they make is all because God deals with this man. And he follows God. And they know that he is important to the family. And the family's not going to thrive as long as dad is not being able to do well. And his sons and his daughters arose to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. Have you ever known somebody that lost a child? I don't have that experience. I haven't had that experience, but I know quite a few people who have. To lose a child is like one of the most devastating things. I'd rather die than one of my kids die. I'm serious. If something's going to happen, I'm an old man. Let me die. Don't let anything happen to my kids and my grandkids. We all feel that way. Here, Dad's just lost his youngest son. Why is that son so special? That's Rachel's child. Who did he love the most? Rachel. Who did he take all kinds of grief over? Rachel. And this is her oldest child. And in his mind, it's been killed by some beast out in the field. And you know, he's not going to be comforted. And he said, "For I shall go down into the grave to my son in mourning." In other words, I'm not going to get over this. And I know people who have lost a child and spent the rest of their lives in mourning, and everything else fell away. I've had them come to me, "Pastor, why did my child have to die?" I can't answer that. That's not a me question, that's a God question. I can't understand why God would take this one and not that one. Why the parent will live to 105 and the kid dies at 3. I can't answer that. God's got a plan in everything. One day when we get to heaven, we'll understand it, but we don't understand it now. And when that happens, all you can pray is for comfort for that family and for that parent. That parent who can't be comforted. That's a hole in your heart that just don't go away. Okay? I have been fortunate, but I know a lot of people that have not been fortunate. They've lost a child or a grandchild, and they have suffered through that agony. So this is where we're about to leave the story now. Thus his father wept for him. Now the Mennonites had sold him in Egypt to Potiphar, which is where we're going to pick it up next week, the officer of Pharaoh and the captain of the guard. This story has so many different areas. First of all, it's a family story about how family can treat each other, how things can go very wrong, about how we can suffer over loss. All these things are true, but it's also an individual story. How we treat one another. We're a family, and we need to treat each other in a way that's not going to cause our gray hairs to go down to the grave, okay? I got enough gray hair. I don't need it going down to the grave, okay? That's how we're supposed to treat one another. God expects that. But family doesn't always get along. Family's not always nice to each other. Sometimes families get rude. Sometimes families take advantage. In all families. So that's something for us to look at. Are we being right in our own family here and in our families that we have? My family has grown pretty large, and we're at a step. I told my wife the other day, we have how many granddaughters over the age of 18 now? I think 7. Okay. 7 all the way up to like 24, 25. Okay. It ain't going to be long before we're going to be hearing Gigi, great-grandma, great-grandpa, okay? And as that family gets bigger and bigger, you know what? Your heart swells more and more. You know what else happens? The opportunities for tragedy increase as your family gets bigger. And our trust in God and our faith in God has to be stronger. And we have to shield our heart from tragedy. And understand that bad things do happen to good people. It's truth. Bad things happen to good people. And God has a purpose behind that. Something in your life, something in their life. God can see the future. He knows when the timing is right for each of us to come into this world. And He knows when the time is right for each of us to leave this world. And we can't understand that. And our hearts don't want to let us understand it. So as we go through day to day in your personal family and in your church family, remember this story. Well, there's always one in every family. There's one in every family. There's that one who's going to tell on them. We had 6 kids. We had the tattletale, right? We had the one that took advantage whenever he could. Okay, we had that person. We had the one that was really sneaky. And then we had the one who would do things behind the scenes and always make sure it got blamed on somebody else. You've always got those in a family. Okay? And God loves them too. And you have to deal with them too. And you need to deal in kindness and patience, even when you don't feel what they're doing is right. Father, thank you so much for this wonderful story, this change in our direction. We have been about these patriarchs all the way down till now. Now the narrative has changed. Not only is the narrative going to change, but where the narrative is going to be fixed at is about to change. And it's been all about you and these amazing people of Noah and Abraham and Isaac all the way down here. But now you're going to change the narrative, and you're going to go off in a new direction, Father, and we need to follow you along that path. Each one of these, each part of this, directs our hearts to how you want us to be, and more importantly, how you don't want us to be. So, Father, let this sink down into our hearts and our minds. Let this be an example to us of your wisdom and how you expect us to live our lives. Father, I thank you for all that has happened and how you have taken care of us and how this church is still here and still going. And that's because of the love of the people in this building. Let us continue that as we change right now to family time. This is your time with your Father. If there's something in your life that's going on and you need to pray about it, come up to the altar. It's open. If you need to come up and speak to your pastor, I'm here. If you need to just sit in your seat and pray, now's the time for that. Your Father's in heaven, and he's listening to you right now. And he's listening to your heart throb and what's going on with you and what's happening and what's got you discouraged or hurt or in pain. And he's listening to you right now. Take this time with your Father to ask what it is that you need. In Jesus Christ's name. I want to thank you for joining us here, either on YouTube or Facebook. I hope you're getting a blessing from this series as you hear these narratives and these stories about these families and their events. I hope it touches your heart. Once again, thank you for joining us here at Frontenac Baptist Church in Cocoa Florida.